what does STAG stand for, and what does STAG do?
STAG stands for Sheffield Tree Action Groups. We're a collaboration and affiliation of 11 local action groups around the city of Sheffield. We're all campaigning to try and prevent the unnecessary felling of thousands of healthy street trees across Sheffield as part of the council's Streets Ahead programme.
So why is it important to protest against the felling of trees in Sheffield?
Street trees are an inherent part of what makes Sheffield special. We are known as being a particularly green city. There are over 36,000 street trees, and although you might not necessarily realise it at the time, when you start to realise that there's a lot of trees on the streets, and it makes a difference to the feel of a place. They also have a huge value in filtering air pollution, improving quality of life and things. And these trees don't really belong to the council, they belong to the whole of the city of Sheffield. They're all of our trees. We are campaigning because basically the control of those trees has been handed over to a private company as part of a 25-year contract, and they are just pursuing methods that are really designed to just improve their profit margins with no thought as to the consequences for the city and the people that live in it. So that is why we are campaigning and protesting, because this isn't just about the tree outside my house, it's about the whole well-being of the people of Sheffield.
Why does this company want to cut down trees?
So Amy have got a 25-year private finance initiative contract with the council to maintain the roads, the pavements, the streetlights and the trees. A lot of it is hidden in secrecy. If you look at the contract online, huge swathes of it are redacted. Compare that to the Birmingham very similar contract where you can see most of it. So we're not really allowed to see what Amy are being paid to do and what they're supposed to be doing. But what we can see is that they are designating trees for felling for highly spurious reasons, such as very minor curb and pavement disturbance, which in cities elsewhere in the country, they would just work around it. They'd put in a thinner curbstone, ramp the pavement, work around it, keep the tree. It appears that Amy are basically just trying to reduce their maintenance costs, because if they fell a tree, replace it with a sapling, for the rest of the 25-year contract, there's relatively little work involved for them. If there is a mature tree there, it's going to need pruning every few years, it's going to need some looking after and some maintenance, some inspection as a minimum. So clearly there is a profit motive for Amy in felling thousands of trees that then need very little work. So basically it comes down to private profits.
So what techniques for campaigning do STAG do to try and protest against these trees getting cut down?
In the early days of the campaign, there was a lot of, I think, writing to councillors, trying to engage with the cabinet members who were responsible, trying to discuss, ask why, and then it's just built up from there. So then there's been some massive petitions. I don't know if you're aware of the Rustlings Road petition, the Sort petition, which really kicked things off, and they got over 16,000 signatures. Then there have been numerous other petitions that have raised over 5,000 signatures apiece, which means you get the opportunity to present your petition in council and have it debated and respond. Just over a year ago, in February 2016, there was a High Court action requesting a judicial review. Unfortunately, that was unsuccessful. It failed on technical grounds, but the basic failure was that we hadn't requested the judicial review soon enough. We should have done it within 3 months of the contract kicking in. Now, obviously, as local citizens, when a contract kicks in, your first thought of when you're trying to address something that you don't like, your first thought isn't, I must go to the High Court and demand a judicial review of the decision. Your first thought is you approach the councillors, you try to talk to them. So by the time we'd sort of exhausted all the local democratic options, it was too late for the legal options. More recently, as you're probably aware, I mean, the campaign has always been on the streets, but more recently that's ramped up. There were the first arrests on Marden Road early last November 2016, and then further arrests on Rustlings Road in the Dawn Raid. And then on Chipping House Road in February 2017, there were 11 arrests, 9 of them together, when people basically refused to move from under a tree because they felt like they had exhausted all the options. it isn't just about standing under trees and getting arrested. We are still pursuing all the other options available to us. There is increasing pressure coming to bear on the council, but we're just, trying multiple avenues to try and achieve what we want to.
Like, how does it make you feel when you see your fellow protesters for nature kind of getting arrested by the police? It can't be a good thing.
I'm incredibly proud of them. They are standing up for what they believe in. Lots of people in the campaign are not in positions where they can risk getting arrested. Personally, I can't risk getting arrested. I could lose my professional registration. But there are people out there who are willing to risk that. I have a huge amount of respect for the people who are willing to get arrested. I also have a huge amount of respect for the people who have spent hours and hours and hours. You could add it up to months of their time in doing all sorts of things. And everyone brings to their campaign their different skills and abilities and expertise. And that is the brilliant thing about this campaign. It's brought people together from all walks of life on a personal level. Even if we didn't manage to save any trees, I would have come to know a whole bunch of really great people.
So, what impact has STAG had, and is it, are things improving? Are you managing to save trees? Are you having an effect?
Some people argue that we're not having much of an effect. I would dispute that. We know that AMY are massively behind on their felling schedules, they're hugely behind on their programme. There is a huge amount of adverse publicity for the council, which is busy trying to argue that it's the green city and things, whilst on the other hand coming under huge criticism for felling thousands of healthy street trees. The felling programme is massively behind schedule. It's costing the council money. Now, I know that's taxpayers' money, but you do have to question how long they can continue to justify that. And there are a lot of trees still standing today that would not still be standing if the campaign had not been doing what it's doing.
So finally, is it weird, as you're a protest group, you're mostly, especially when you see it in the news, you're mostly made up of kind of older people, and that kind of goes against the usual norm of it being younger people are protesting. So isn't it not weird to see that in the news? Because it's very different to what we're used to.
Well, it's interesting because I was talking about this with Chris Rust, the other co-chair, the other day, and we were talking about the demographic. One thing is obviously that a lot of this is going on in the day when, let's face it, retired people are more likely to be available to stand around on the streets for hours, if they don't have to rush off and look after kids or go to work or whatever. So that's one thing, that they're physically able to be there. The other thing as well is that generation of people who are now, say, in their 60s, grew up at a time when protest was the norm. It was almost fashionable. It's what people did. Go down a generation and actually there isn't that culture of protest. And I think it's only now we get to a further generation down, probably half a generation less than me, that people are going out and protesting again. So I don't think it's weird. I think it's to do with the practicalities, but also just what people are used to. And those people that are out on the streets, now retired, spent their teenage and 20s protesting about all sorts of things, so they're used to it.